Hello, everyone, and welcome to the distribution team meeting of June 7th. I have the first item on the agenda, which is triage. So I threw into the agenda the tallies for last week with my linked issue. In terms of pipeline failures from last week, we had some failures with regarding the security release, where we hadn't backported the libdir fix for the CNG UBI images. We also had some just dependency scanning failures, which we have issues logged for. And then over the weekend, we had a couple more failures, one related to upstream, change in upstream GitLab, which has been reverted, which was causing omnibus builds to fail. So that should now be working. And then we also currently just have a broken review on EKS and master in Helm charts. I'll be taking a look at that after this meeting, but it's just one of the timed out waiting for conditions. So we need to jump into the cluster and check that. But those were the ones from over the weekend. This week for triage is Mitch. And then next on the agenda from Stephen, who's not here, is just the status updates for the standing items. So the first one he threw in here was J release of the GitLab operator and reviewing status of the 14.0 deliverables related to the OpenShift operator. Jason, I don't know if you want to jump in here.
Sure.
And provide an overview.
Right, so I am looking at this list sorted by create date. The first one we have is actually my next item after Hossein, so I'm going to skip that one. We need to touch base with Sun Young and find out exactly where we are in regards to the logo. And we have a couple of ideas, but we're just waiting for a little feedback in that.
I real quick, I talked with her last week about that. She hadn't got a chance to get to it yet, but she was planning on doing it this week or next week. So if any additional thoughts, she's going to get going on it soon.
Okay, could you add that to the issue? Thanks.
Yep.
Right, the next one is clarifying messaging that the operator is not OpenShift only. Part of this is related to relocation. Part of this is related to documentation and making sure that everybody in the company understands that it's not OpenShift specific. This is a slow and in progress. Dylan's been working on this with Joshua and our documentation team, and we're just trying to find the right place to put the wording and make sure that it's clear so that we're not accidentally mixing the Helm work with the operator work, and making sure that we're not confusing anybody who does read it with not that it isn't OpenShift, but how you actually manage to get it and get it installed. We have a couple of MRs this past week, Dylan, right?
Yes, and I just spoke with Axel this morning to get some more ideas and organization on how to best lay it out. So yeah, we're rock and roll.
All right. The next one is initial CRD documentation. Dustin, you have this assigned to you right now, and for the touch base on everybody, we had some documentation in place, but it's time to update and overhaul it.
Yeah, this is mostly reorganizing what we have, so not too big of a lift.
Progressing okay?
Yep, all good.
Cool. And the last one is the exploration of SSH support for GitLab application on OpenShift cluster. The TLDR here is we're using Nginx, so we should be able to actually fully control the TCP port. The long form is our Nginx that we use in the chart is the community Nginx ingress or ingress Nginx project. And the operator that's available within the certified OpenShift operators is actually the upstream Nginx Inc. operator. They do not behave the same way. So as it turns out, we do have a little bit of complication in sorting out how this works and figuring out if we really want to start relying on that one and dealing with the difference in behaviors. This is entirely doable as the chart was built to be flexible in terms of where its ingress provider comes from and a number of other things, but we have to be very careful about making it actually even harder for a user. Because one example is that even if you use what they call a TCP server, you still have to actually turn around and expose that service manually inside of OpenShift. So there's a little bit of a complication that we have to sort through. There's a lot of discussion in that issue. That issue itself will probably be closed soon. We've proven that you can deploy Nginx and you can get SSH to work through that inside of OpenShift, but it also means like getting away from that operator. So we have to be careful about how we make those choices.
Thanks, Jason. Then I'm just going to jump into the standing items, which are related, but in the standing items at the top, we have the 14.0 deliverables P2s. I'm just going to speak through the ones that weren't OpenShift related. But to start off with, we have a bunch that are kind of chained together in regards to removal of Postgres 11. So that includes geo only supporting Patroni. So removing, and that's tied to rep manager removal, essentially. So removing rep manager commands from the geo commands, we have an issue for that. Then we actually have removal of rep manager from Omnibus. We need to get that in. And then once that's in, further down in the list, we have remove Postgres 11 from Omnibus. So we have kind of a chain of Postgres related removals. I know that Robert had gotten a good start on the Postgres 11 removals, and then we had kind of flushed out the, we need to remove rep manager first, and then, we need to remove geo first. So I know we have a good MR ready for later, for when we can, by later, I just mean later this release, to remove Postgres 11. But we're still working on removing those rep managers specifically. Then we have
just an update on that, DJ.
Yep, go
The
for
rep
it.
manager part is done, but the geo stuff surfaced when trying to clean up the last of the RSpec tests. So rep manager removal is pretty much done. So we're basically into the third phase there, just to clarify.
Excellent. Then we have docs update around the upgrade guide for 14.0 release in charts. I have, doesn't look like it's linked to the issue. I have a MR up for that, but this will be something that after we get the initial skeleton MR, there'll be additional changes to kind of firm it up as we get close to the release. Then we have some of the OpenShift related ones that we already talked through. We have lower down the list, removing CI jobs for Ubuntu 16.04. We're a little bit blocked on this in that we don't want to remove them while our own systems are still using them. And so I know Balu is working with the SRE teams to figure out how to transition them over. It doesn't look like we'll be fully removing building of the packaging this release, but we likely will be removing publishing to external, like to the same repos this release for other users. And then we have one that hasn't been picked up yet.
Can I interject real quick, DJ? I'm sorry. On the other side at 1604, there's also a standing issue because we are or aren't moving to 2004. I know Balu and I were working with Marin and one other person on that. Dylan, if we could have you help us get that coordinated and scheduled, that would help us clarify that out so that we don't have the long drag we do for 16. Because 18 is going the same route here and it's been a while.
I'm happy to prioritize it whenever we need it. Yep.
Yeah, and then the next one on the list is upgrade console to the latest major version. I think this is the only P2 that isn't assigned at the moment. I'm planning to take a further look at it today, but like there's been no progress on this one so far. So this is kind of the one in the list with nothing happening on it quite yet. And then next, we have some we already covered. And then the last one at the bottom is force root password configuration at install time, which Paulo's been working on. And there's been some back and forth on how best we're going to do that, and a couple proof of concept MRs already in play. But I think, Balu, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're probably, it looks like we're going to have something for 14.0 here related.
Yeah, we should. The main problem is we don't have anything like Kubernetes secrets that we have in charts for Omnibus. So one way or another, we will have to give up on a bit of security for convenience, either writing it into a file or printing it to a std out. But yeah, we will be automatically creating a root password and finding some way to get that to the user.
Yeah, thanks. So it seems like from our P2s, the main one here, everything we're making progress on other than console is the only one. The console upgrade is the only one that we haven't gotten started on yet. Everything else sounds like we have people working on and have progress moving forward. Jumping back to the agenda, the next item on the agenda is from Hossein. This is just a request for review. He threw in a merge request ready for review that is blocking some other merge requests. So this is just a call out to get some eyes on that. And then Jason, you have the next item.
Right. So as I mentioned, there is an issue here. We're, as part of making it clear that the operator work is not OpenShift specific, we're going to move it out of the group. Discussion was had through a number of us, and we made sure that we, carried that forward with the issue. We are going to move that into GitLab org Cloud Native. This group has been created. We're going to start with the operator itself. Long term, one of the things that we've had is the fact that we have items that are all spread out all over the place. Specifically, when it comes to the cloud native work, the GitLab logger, the charts themselves, the CNG, which could be better named, the number of things that we have that are literally just in all the places. Okay, what we're going to do long term is relocate all of those things to a central place that actually has the appropriate naming to make it clear that these are cloud native specific things. It doesn't mean that they're Helm specific or Kubernetes specific, but they are implementations that make cloud native GitLab possible. This will take many months to do because the number of things that we have as a touch. We have to update all the documentation. We have to update all the mirrors. We have to update all the build forks. We have to update all the many, many, many things. Okay. Please do not come to any understanding that this is going to be done in 14.0 or that this will even be done before 14.3. It could likely be until 14.6 before we have all of this done. What we're doing here is laying the framework, setting a path, and beginning down that road. Questions, comments, thoughts? Seeing a lot of nobody saying anything or nods to no. So then I'll go ahead and touch on the next thing. There has been a misconfiguration regarding some job logs. We should do a cursory review of our own projects just to make sure that all of the information is perfectly good. I am intentionally leaving out details from the public call, but I want everybody to understand the implications of what occurred. I can't talk about the details in a public recording at this time because it hasn't necessarily been published. There have been multiple members of our team already involved with what's going on and discussing what has actually occurred. The TLDR is, folks, check your settings. That's a number one. Second one, we can discuss separately in a non-recorded portion of this call, but I want everybody to be aware of that. Dylan, you have the next item.
Yep. It's already that time of the year for another release post. So happy to see anybody's thoughts or suggestions on release post items, either for charts or omnibus, either issues or MRs. So if there's something you're working on that you would like to see, or you think would be a good candidate, especially, something that is impactful to the client, yeah, drop it in the comments. And additionally, if you'd like to, do a line or two of how it benefits the client, that'd be great. I'm going to go in and read every issue, but if there's some off the top of your head, happy to hear them.
Will we be listing all the removals in the blog post, or will we be writing them in an issue doc and linking it to from the blog post? Like, how do we plan to do that? Because we are removing a lot of.
I believe there's a separate section for this release for removals.
Okay.
But I'll make sure that that's the case. If not, I imagine we will do either a section in each of our release post items, or we'll link it out. Yep.
Oh,
Good point.
Okay, cool.
I think that brings us to the end of today's meeting. Thanks everyone, and have a great day.
See everybody.